Hey everybody, it's Party Elite. Welcome you back to another episode of our Planet Zoo franchise mode Let's Play. We're gonna dive right back into Elite Zoo South. I've got a lot planned for today. I am very excited for what we're about to get up to, and I'm sure the thumbnail and title has given it all away already because I can't help myself. But I think we've got some pretty cool ideas for what's to happen today, and I am really looking forward to trying to execute them, I should say. It's very different from much of anything I've done before. I mean, we've kind of touched on similar approaches, sort of, but it's all going to be a bit more complex today, I think, in its execution. So I'm really kind of pumped to dive into it and to see how it all comes together. I mean, I looked through the comments of the previous episode, and there was a fairly sort of mixed bag as far as opinions are concerned in terms of what people wanted to see next, but one thing did seem to stand out above others in terms of sort of a preferred next step. I've got some plans for more or less everything that was mentioned in the comments. All this stuff is constantly on my mind, and it's always something that I'm thinking about or mulling over or planning, and so I just want, again, rest assured that just because I'm picking to do one thing today doesn't mean that I've ignored all the other comments and all the other requests and all the other desires for priority treatment of whatever it might have been that you wanted to see done. So just want to give you some reassurances there that I'm not just using that information from last session's comments as a why are you still littering over here? There's a bin there. There's a bin here. It's like a few more steps, man. Oh my God. Okay, hopefully that one does the trick. Just every time it just absolutely throws me, honestly. Where was I? Right. So I just wanted to make clear that just because I've, taken a look at the comments and I go with one thing today doesn't mean that I'm ignoring everything else that was said in the comments. I will still be taking all that into consideration as I move forward in the episode after this one and the one after the next one, and so on and so forth until things are tackled. Definitely a huge desire on my part as well to complete the koala area that's been sitting there for a while, and there's a couple of beauty passes that are necessary, I think, to have them happen sooner rather than later. I just want to make sure that some of these spaces start to feel a bit more complete. This area has been feeling very incomplete for quite some time. We're fortunate that from up on high it's a little bit harder to tell because there's the train platform over here blocking the view, but we know the truth, right? This all needs to be decorated. This all needs to be a thing. There's still work to be done on this little walk over here as well. Even though this was kind of acting up with the placement of some of these benches, I believe, right? We couldn't place one down over here, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, this is definitely something I have on my mind. There's a lot of animals that I want to add in as well as we grow over here. There are some animals that I'm still mulling over my plans for. And I've mentioned this in the comments as replies and stuff as well. There are some animals that were very requested that I'm still just trying to figure out what I want to do with their enclosures, and that's something that I just have to try and figure out. But the enclosure that we're making today is one we've talked about a little bit in the past, and it will be at least partially influenced by some of our work over here, and also some of our work for the polar bears at Elite Zoo North. When I was saying earlier that we've kind of tangentially touched on some of these this style a little bit, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is this kind of a somewhat enclosed space. Again, this is only somewhat enclosed. It's really actually largely open. I'm challenging myself to make an entirely enclosed space with today's session. I don't know how well that'll go. I really hope it goes more smoothly than I anticipated to. But yeah, you could say there's something to be said about these being experiments or prototypes for what we're about to do today. But anyway, folks, enough talk of inspiration and prototype and all that kind of stuff. Let's actually sort of, I guess, get down to business over here. What I'm thinking of doing is establishing our enclosure down over here. That feels sort of the most fitting based on the geographical requirements of, or I should say, origin, or just the geography, with regards to the matters of geography. Let's say it like that. This feels like where we're going to be establishing this enclosure. I think what we'll probably do is move this water treatment facility somewhere else, make sure it's still able to get work done, and instead change this path into a path for our visitors who can come through and over here, hereabouts, immerse themselves in this enclosure in a couple of different ways. I want to try and make this realistic and I guess pragmatic as much as possible. The reason why it's going to be a fully enclosed space is for like climate control and stuff like that. We also want to be wary of too much glass for roofing and things like that for the greenhouse effect. A lot to think about. Really excited for this one actually. But that's the overall plan. And again, if the thumbnail title don't make it clear, or if my statements don't make it clear, we are today adding the king penguin. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the, hold on. First of all, before I even do that, as is kind of like my new approach, or as I'm trying to make into my new approach, first I will check my rewards. I'm pretty sure I don't have any penguins. I do not. Cool. Okay, over to the market. Better safe than sorry, right? Over to the K4 king penguin. Are there lots? You know what? There's a fair number. Mason for 2,200. Not bad, not bad. Decent stats. Only gold rank one, eh? All right, let's go ahead and nab you then from Sun World. And one of our female picks at least can wait. You can have a lot more penguins in one space than not. We'll definitely be getting quite a few. This is going to be a nice kind of busy space. But I wanted to nab that gold tier king penguin. So we have a male. And we'll grab ourselves a female after the time lapse. I'm hoping that, because of how the market works, we'll have a new batch and hopefully there'll be some new animals. Where am I? Why am I? There it is. Like, where's the little icon? All right, cool. Quarantine. Yep, go for it. Cool. And let's go ahead. And what I'm thinking, by the way, is today we're gonna have the addition of a new animal. Next session probably will be required to cap this space off, but not just that. We'll also, in doing that, also get names down on some of these enclosures. I now have names for all of these enclosures over here, the cheetah as well as the bonobo and the chimpanzee. So I think I'll get those names in while also finishing this off next session. And the session after that, maybe we'll probably, I'm thinking, do a beauty pass up over there so that, that kind of like covers a lot of our bases, and then we'll be adding a new animal up over here, which for now will remain a mystery. So let's go ahead and duck on down over here and take a look at the king penguin. So this is the, king penguin, as I just said, the Eptinodides patagonicus. I'm assuming it's a reference to Patagonia, which I might be wrong here. Don't quote me on this one, but I'm fairly sure geographically also makes sense, right? I'm not wrong, right? Patagonia is like to the southern. It's a region in like the southern parts of South America, right? Oh God, I'm really putting myself out there. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain Patagonia is the southern half, you could say, of South America, that like region. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so the Eptinodides patagonicus, least concern, 4.5 million is the population in the wild. So they're not a big, problem species, but they're a fun species. The king penguin, or Eptinodides patagonicus, is a large species of marine bird that lives in the Southern Ocean and breeds on subantarctic islands, including the Falklands and South Georgia. King penguins have dark gray feathers on their backs and flippers, white feathers on their chests and stomachs, and yellow coloration on their throats, while their heads are black with bright orange cheek patches, as well as an orange streak along their beaks. Standing at between 32 inches and 40 inches tall, king penguins weigh an average of 19.8 pounds to 30.8 pounds and are the second largest species of penguin after the emperor penguin. The species is not endangered, but it is predicted that the king penguin population will decrease rapidly over the coming decades. This is due to climate change, which is likely to affect their prey species distribution around the islands on which they breed, and the warming of the ocean may change the path of ocean currents. Penguins also struggle with acquiring enough food in areas where commercial fishing is widespread. King penguins are not viewed as at risk due to their current high population, but there are charities that are proposing that marine reserves are established around the penguins' range and that commercial fishing is limited in these areas to keep the population thriving. It's kind of interesting. It kind of makes you wonder about some of these metrics, right? Like some of the metrics that we make these classifications based on, like, okay, well, then aren't they, you know, it's a weird thing to say, but bear with me here. If our current trends and current patterns will put something in danger, are they not endangered, right? Like, cause, and again, I get why not, because endangered means right now they're in trouble and they need more urgent help than not, right? Like a critically endangered species needs help now. A vulnerable species will needs help now, but like not as much attention needs to be paid. It's such a weird thing to say, but that's the reality, right? We only have so many resources at any given time. Now, it can be argued that we have enough resources to make a difference across the board, but that's a whole other topic of conversation. We're not going to get into that. That's a whole can of worms. But with the resources across the world that are dedicated to conservation efforts, preservation, whatever you want to call it, we have to prioritize based on how endangered a species is. And that makes sense. But you have to wonder if that doesn't take away from potential threats. Because I'll be honest with you, literally, I have this open in front of me, and in my head, I went through, I always thought penguins were, like, in trouble. But I guess not. And I read this, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, I read this, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess they're not. Fair enough. And I get to the bottom here, and I go, oh, no, yeah, okay, they are in trouble. Like, it's just like, right, like, some people will only see this, and I don't mean in this game, I mean in general, right, like, out there. People will see this, and they'll be like, oh, we're fine. People will not see this and go, oh, we need to work on stuff. So I sometimes wonder about the classification system, and, like, obviously it helps prioritize things, but does it help? It helps communicate to the people that know what's going on, but you need to have a different type of communication for people that don't know what's going on or aren't, that don't live in that space, either professionally or just out of sheer interest or what have you. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. My point being, I sometimes wonder how effective this is and how accurate it is, because it's easy to get caught up in the semantics of it. Yeah, I guess that's my point. Anyway, hopefully I was clear in my rant there. Moving on to the natural habitat. So yes, you can see they're, like, again, they're spread out across the waters over here, but as it pertains to Australia, not really a they're further from Australia than they are from Africa and South America. And, well, especially if you consider the spawn over here. And so we talked about this many times in the past, and we kind of, like, overall, I think the consensus was that close to South America makes more sense than close to Australia, and Africa already has so many animals that I don't think it needs more attention and more animals added to it through, our mental gymnastics that we're performing here. So, yeah. Antarctica and South America are also labeled as the continents over here, so we can use that as a bit of a justification as well. But apart from that, biomes are, of course, aquatic and tundra. They do not need that much space, and I'm going to try and be cognizant of that. But, important to note, they do need not just water, but deep water, and they can grow quite numerous. Group size, excluding juveniles, is 6 to 500. Up to 500 males, up to 500 females. We're not going to have that many, but the option is there, and it's kind of good to keep in mind as we establish their space, just to, because I don't want, like, 4 penguins either. I want, like, a good, like, 10, 20 or something. I enjoy penguins. I like a lot about penguins, so I'd like to have space for quite a few penguins. Not 500, but, 10, 20 I think is a reasonable number. The bachelor group sizes are the same as well, 6 to 500, 6 to 500. Dominance, none. Mating system is monogamous. A confident relation with humans, and I actually forgot that guests can enter the habitat. That makes things interesting. Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I remember this from a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure I saw something just a couple of weeks ago, and I can't for the life of me remember if I'm remembering this correctly. But I think penguins, because they don't have land-based predators, I believe they are very comfortable around humans because they aren't afraid. I'm sweeping statements here, but again, bear with me. They're not afraid because as far as they know, as far as they understand, when they're far enough away from the edge of... when they're far enough away from the coast, let's call it, they're safe from predators. So if they come across humans inland, so to speak, they can get pretty confident. And I think just in general with humans, they're pretty confident and they'll like walk right up to you and stuff. If I'm not mistaken. And that tracks over here because this has relationship with humans confident, but I think sometimes this belies just how confident they can be. And I find penguins absolutely adorable. Babies, adults, doesn't matter. They're super cute. And they seem to be quite curious animals as well. So there's some really fun pictures out there of penguins coming up on like scientists or biologists or explorers. What is this? The 1800s? You know what I mean? Just people in general. Photographers. Photographer is what I was thinking, but for some reason, explorer came to mind. Because anyway, yeah, and there's some really fun images of penguins getting really curious and like checking out equipment and stuff like that. Anyway, just, if you need something to Google as you go to bed tonight to add a bit of warmth to your day, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that, guests can enter habitat. So I wasn't actually thinking about that. I might integrate that somehow. We'll see. That changes my plans a bit. Size, 36 inches tall, male and female both. That's their average. Life expectancy across the board, 26-year average. Weight is 26.4 pounds for males, 23.1 for females. Okay. Very marginal difference, I think. Sexual maturity is at 3 years. Sterility is at death. Offspring per mating event is 1. But the cuteness is worth like 20. Gestation incubation period is 2 months. Interbirth period is 12. And reproduction in captivity is easy. Social needs. King penguins are social animals, and when not foraging at sea, they live in extremely large colonies of many thousands of mated pairs. Reproduction. During September and November, king penguins will come ashore to molt and to mate. Males and females will attempt to attract a mate by calling before engaging in a courtship ritual where they will bow their heads to each other, stretch out their necks, and sway and rub their necks together. After this ritual, the female will lie on her stomach on the ground and the male will mate with her. The penguins will then go back to sea for 3 weeks to forage, returning to the island to lay and care for an egg. Or rather, for eggs. Sorry. Went kind of freestyle there. Following the laying of the egg, the mother will incubate it on her feet, covered by her brood pouch for 6 to 18 days, before the male will take over the shift while the female goes to hunt. They will keep this shift switching going for 55 days until the egg hatches. However, if one partner takes too long to relieve the other from the shift, the egg will be abandoned. The unborn chick will die very quickly if the egg touches the cold ground. After 55 days, the egg will begin to hatch, a process that may take 2 to 3 days, and the chick will remain in the brood pouch while the parents take alternating shifts of 3 to 7 days to care for the chick, which is very vulnerable to cold after just hatching. After 30 to 40 days, the chick will be large and strong enough to leave the brood pouch and move more independently. They begin to explore and will join other chicks in a creche that is watched over by several of the adults. Like preschool? By April, most chicks will be almost adult size, losing weight over the winter before gaining it back again in the summer. They will fledge in the summer. They will fledge in the summer? That's a word either I'm unfamiliar with it completely or it's slipping my mind right now. Develop wing feathers that are large enough for flight. Haha, joke's on you, buddy. Oh, oof. Cruel. They will fledge in the summer. Okay. King penguins reach sexual maturity at just so mean, It's like, hey, your feathers are good enough for flying now, little penguin. Rude. King penguins reach sexual maturity at 3 years old, but are unlikely to mate until they are between 5 to 6 years old. Very well. I've always found the the penguins are always interesting as well with regard to they're used as an example of a lot. They're used as an example of monogamy in animals, even though it's not like they're not the only animals to do it, but they're used as the example a lot. They're used as the example of the male caring for the unhatched egg a lot. Like, it's just I find penguins they're quite fascinating in that, and also again obviously different penguins have different mating rituals and different patterns and behaviors and stuff, but there are some consistencies with regards to some of the stuff we're reading over here that I've always found very interesting, not just in that the fact that they are what they are, but also in the fact that they become these almost like symbols for certain topics, especially at like a younger age. Like, to me personally, at least, I don't know how many of you share this kind of similar exposure to it, but penguins were this like representation of not like a symbol of, but monogamy and penguins went hand in hand, right? It was one of those things. Penguins mate for life. It's one of those things. It's one of those things, right? And I just find that interesting because they're not the only ones that mate for life. However, it's the ones that we talk about mating for life. Yeah, I don't know. That's just my own 2 cents on that. Moving on, research status, of course, we've got nothing over here. They do have their platform floats and stuff. All right, cool. That'll be fun. Bubble machines, got to make sure. Need to try and make sure that you can see them underwater as well, because that's half the fun, right? No interspecies enrichment. And with that, I think we're ready to add them. Now, things are a little different if you're able to walk into the enclosure. That's cool. I'm really curious about how I'm going to establish this, I'll be honest. I'm quite nervous about this one, because it is unlike anything I've done before, so I hope it's good, and I hope it's interesting. Well, there's only one way to find out. We'll find out by doing it, I suppose. Folks, it's time-lapse time. Alright, folks. I don't know how I managed to do it, but here we are again. I've bitten off way more than I can chew, at least in one sitting. I don't know when I'll learn, if I'll ever learn, but I certainly didn't learn before today. I can tell you that much. I honestly don't know where to begin. I touch a little bit on some stuff after the time lapse as well, because there's a lot of explanation behind my decision making here today. But the first thing I want to touch on, I guess, during the time lapse is this might seem like I'm being completely distracted by something completely unnecessary, but one thing led to another, and I realized that I kind of want guests to be able to enter this space from this corner over here as well, where we are right now. But we've got important water filtration and power over here, and so we had to first make sure, I wanted to make sure first that this path wasn't going to be a problem. In order to do that, I had to try and beautify this space, minimize the radius of that negative impact, to make sure that the path will fit in that, in the little space that we have left. If I had to make an adjustment, obviously I could have, but I just wanted to be sure, and that took up, not a lot of time, no, but it took up some time. It took up more time than not doing it would, of course. But then we get into this whole song and dance where it's like, okay, well, fine, all right, cool. So we know the path fits, excellent. I checked the negative radius, excellent. It all works fine. Everything's great. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and connect one end of, like one entrance to the other, or the entrance to the exit, or the whatever order you want to call it in, and let's go ahead and terraform this. And it's just like, oh, okay. This is a very, very, very long stretch of land. I don't know if guests are going to use it. However, it's probably a better idea to do this than not, because then they have the loop, and I want to do a lot with this space. I'm actually, I apologize if I sound like down on this enclosure or anything like that right now. That is not my intent at all. I am actually really quite excited about what's to come here, but I had certainly underestimated the scale of this endeavor. Going into today's session, like, as I sat down to record, I was like, I know what I'm going to do. It's going to be, like, I know what I'm going to terraform and how. It's going to be relatively simple as far as terrain work is concerned. I have some ideas in terms of the structure itself. I do struggle with architectural stuff from time to time, more often than not, if I'm honest. I tend to struggle with like those preset grid pieces. So I was ready for that. And I was like, all right, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I've got some ideas. And then I sat down and I was like, yeah, it's all that's out the window. I don't know why I plan things. With that said, sorry. I am genuinely really very, very excited for what's to come over here. Unfortunately, a lot of what's to come, some of what's to come will have come by the end of this time lapse, which is great. But some of what's to come, you're not going to be able to see it until we complete the space, which will have to happen next time. I tried to get as much as I could get done today, folks, but unfortunately, it is just it's a big space and it's a huge undertaking, and you'll see now the true struggles begin as I try to like path this area. And I understand, obviously, there's like a tolerance to like how high or how low or how steep or whatever things can be, but it's just sometimes it's just a little too particular. And that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that after I put all the pathing down over here, I go, you know what? This cave space could definitely use some more clearance. You know, it could definitely go a little bit higher. And I guess because I put the path down, the ceiling is considered part of the floor. I don't know, but I had to redo this entire thing. It's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal, but at the time, it certainly felt like, wow, I could be spending this time doing literally anything else to this enclosure. But instead, I'm putting path down again. But you can see these ugly parts. Yeah, there you go. I'm like, oh, what? And I have to delete everything. And I'm unfortunately putting the path back down the next two times, actually. This happens again. Isn't that bad. It's not that bad, but it is kind of funny to think about. Just to think back on like how I felt when I was like, oh, I gotta redo this entire thing. Now again, we'll be putting down like those snow rock pieces and stuff to finesse the space, and that's all good, but I did want to, I can always add rocks to fill gaps in, but I can't like, unless I terraform now, I can't take away from the terrain, right? So I had to do that all now. But yeah, so I've got this little like skylight at the top as well. Right now it's just a hole in the ground, and I might keep it that way. I might make this into a structure instead. I'm torn between keeping it as a cave-like experience as opposed to a building, which was the original plan, but plans evolve, right? First contact with the enemy and all that. So I'm a little torn right now. More on that after the time lapse as well. I'll go in a bit more detail on that topic after the time lapse, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on my thoughts. So, but I don't want to belabor it right now, as we are now on the topic of labor. Digging a hole down over here because I wanted to make sure that you could get a like an underwater view. Now, part of me wanted to do like a long, underwater viewing tunnel. But another part of me was like, well, we've seen that 100 times, and maybe we'll try something else. I'm not knocking the long tunnel. It's a very effective, and it's a very fun experience as well. I love, like in an aquarium, for example, when you walk and you're like flanked by giant glass walls, and you got the fish. Like, I love that stuff. But I was like, let's try something a little bit different. And it's not, it's probably not all that different, to be perfectly honest. It's just different from anything we've done, which is, I guess different enough. At least I think it's different from anything we've done. And that is to have a platform, but a platform is certainly not unique. What we're going to do is we're going to establish that. You can see me kind of like figuring out over here. I was like, is this going to fit? Is this going to work? How are we going to make this work? What we're going to do is we're going to actually cave out this viewing area a bit more. And the way we're going to establish our glass barrier is in a way that'll actually allow the penguins to enter like behind you, basically. Like if you go all the way to the end of this ramp, or of this viewpoint, let's call it observation point. If you go to the end of it and you're lucky enough that the penguins are feeling adventurous, they will have enough room to swim behind you. So you're kind of like all as fully surrounded by water as you kind of can be without the use of like an elevator or something like that. Which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty like unique. It felt like an observation point. And that's actually, now that I say it out loud. I'm not going to pretend and say like that was the plan all along. No, now that I've said observation over the course of this time lapse, I know exactly how I'm going to theme the dining space. I think I was already on this kind of page where I was just like, yeah, it'll kind of be like I want to make similar to Om Nom Nom back at Elite 2 North. I want to make like a space that is for like food and stuff, a raised platform, you know, that kind of vibe. And I do believe I mentioned it after the time lapse as well. So, you know, before I recorded the audio for this time lapse, I do believe I mentioned like, oh yeah, like a viewing spot. I'm now thinking more like a scientific observation deck, perhaps. I don't know if it'll work 100%, but it's something to think about. It's something to like maybe theme the space around. And again, it might be something completely different from what I'm planning right now entirely, but that's where my head's at right now. I'll have to think about it a bit more. Again, literally just came to mind right now as I was talking, so still up for debate. But again, and as always, I would love to hear you know, other folks' thoughts before I commit to anything, or you know, in case some other thoughts come up that inspire me or influence the direction and stuff. It's one of those cases where I think what some might call quote unquote backseat gaming is, to me, it comes across more like a collaborative kind of a thing. Again, I don't necessarily always pick up or pick out or implement ideas from the comments, but it is cool when, you know, like the bonobos and the chimps is an example, right? Like something was mentioned many episodes ago, but it stuck with me, and it, you know, it kind of came through eventually, right? So it's one of the things that I quite like about I would say how we've collectively, you know, approached everything, and so I leave this conversation open to that as well. I'll leave every conversation open to that. Anyway, establishing the entrance now, I decided that the entirety of this tunnel space is way too big, I feel like. So I thought I'd cut it short a little bit, and that way we can have a bit more of a controlled experience. I thought that was like the right move. In some ways, as I struggle with this barrier over here, in some ways even this might be a little bit too large, but it's like you can see the end from one end, which is what I wanted to kind of do. I wanted it to feel finite, but I also didn't want it to feel small, obviously. And I feel like that kind of works. And we'll see once everything, all the decorative elements and stuff are in place, we'll see exactly how that, you know, feels and looks and functions. Oh yeah, the joy of putting down another guest entrance / exit over here. Oof. Overall, though, I mean, we've just put down basically the skeleton of this enclosure. The meat is yet to be placed. The icy snowy meat, I guess, is yet to be placed. But this is kind of where we run out of time for the time lapse today. It is absolutely wild how kind of big this space ended up becoming, not just in terms of size, but in terms of time and effort and all that kind of stuff compared to what I was planning at first. But I'm excited for it. But for now, though, back to regular speed. We'll talk a bit more about this space, a lot more about this space, and we'll actually get the penguins in as well. Over to you, future past party elite. All right, folks, we are back from the time lapse, and that went in a direction I was not expecting whatsoever. And I don't know how I managed to do this. Like every time, I go in this direction that just absolutely throws everything for a loop. Can I even find the entrance to this spot right now? Where am I right now? Here we go. All right, so back over here. No. Up over. No, I'm not. No, up over here. Ooh, that took a sec. Took a second. That time lapse took a lot out of me because there was a lot of struggling with a lot of elements that are always a struggle to deal with, but we made it through. But see, okay, so how do I even begin to? I'm sure I might have touched on some of this during the time lapse, but it goes by so quickly. So I just want to reiterate one of the major like elements or aspects, I guess. See, I figured people can come in over here, right, and they'll be able to check out the penguins, and they'll be happy, and it'll be a nice enclosed space, and then they'll be done, and then they'll leave. That's all, you know, fine and well and good. But then it occurred to me that, right, guests like loops in Planet Zoo, and so I should make them a loop. And I was like, well, you know, there aren't that many loops you can make in this area, so why don't we go ahead and make them a loop back over here? So you go through, you go around, and then you're able to walk through this wondrous cave with a bit of a gap over here as well. We might add some like a rooftop or something here, maybe make a dome or something. We'll do something with this. But you walk past here, it's a nice kind of busy area, lots of penguins running around having a good time. Maybe there's some food and stuff available over here, like maybe it's a little platform or something, so you can kind of sit up top and look at the penguins run around. Like, I've got a lot of really fun plans for this area, right? Like, I'm actually really excited for this space. It's gonna I think it's gonna be absolutely bonkers. It's gonna be something like we've never done before, and I'm really pumped for that. But that's not something you can accomplish in one sitting, in one time lapse. And so instead, I have this hole in the ground. It really is kind of it's kind of wild. And I might also want to put some like washrooms and stuff down over here, by the way, to make sure that guests are coming through up to here, and then they might continue over into the actual enclosure itself. And we're gonna make it all icy and add a lot of, like, I'm really, really, really excited for this space. But my God, it looks like nothing right now. I do actually, I'm quite pleased with this space though. The viewing, if I can connect it, which again, story of my life, struggle of my life even. I'll figure it out next time. But if I can connect it, I quite like the idea of being fully encapsulated and being able to look behind, and maybe if we're lucky, the penguins will like actually come all the way in as well. I'll try and bait them in here with something, but there should be enough room for them to swim in here, and I think that's a pretty cool experience to actually be fully surrounded by the water like this, to like kind of stick out like this and be able to see everything around. And we're gonna finesse all this stuff as well. It's all gonna be snow and ice blocks, so this will all get covered up nicely. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of work to do here still, and it's I've bitten off more than I can chew in one sitting, but we'll definitely get it done. Oh, really weird as well, by the way, when the path is down here and you're not able to adjust the terrain up top over here. Like, what's that about? Why is that happening? Why is this a thing? The path isn't on the sky. Like, that's not cool. That forced me to redo the pathing a couple of times, and that was definitely an element of slowing me down. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, folks. I am really quite excited for what's to come over here. I understand it doesn't look like much right now, but hey, let's get the penguins in here. Let's see if they like the size of the space, and let's see what they need in terms of just other aspects as well. We'll get some stuff going on in here, and then next session, wow, was I off about what my targets are going to be. But next session, we're going to finish this off. Now, a question I posit to you. Would you rather this whole thing be an underground cave kind of a thing, right? Like this kind of like a natural cave kind of vibes over here, or would you rather it be an actual structure, like a full-on building that you can see from up top as well, right? That was my original plan. That's why I kept saying like, oh yeah, kind of inspired by like this kind of a thing. That was my original plan down over here. But then as I started building the space, I was like, a somewhat like intimate cave experience with a bunch of penguins is kind of interesting too. And then I kind of like leaned into that really hard. But I would love to know your opinions. I'd love to know what you think, and we can kind of like mold this together, as it were. But yeah, let's get the penguins in here, make sure they're enjoying the space, and then kind of gear up for next session as well, because it's gonna be it's gonna be a thing, that's for sure. Hazel, oh, you're pretty good, from Evergreen. And X Benjamin. Yeah, sure, I'll scoop you up as well, from Evergreen. I don't want to risk potential inbreeding, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe get like Archer instead. Again, because we can have so many males and so many females. I mean, I could just scoop them all up, to be honest. Sophie here is actually not a bad pick. And what about Archer's stats aren't the greatest. We'll hold off. Cool. So Sophie, Hazel, and Mason. Well, Mason's already headed to the quarantine. Let's get the other two in here as well. Come on. Quarantine small. Yes. Cool. Not sending them to the lions. And then we'll get them in here and see how they fare. Let's go ahead and unpause. It's an absolutely, oh my god, it was a ridiculous time lapse, folks. I think the number of times I was just like, what have I done? Through the roof, man, through the roof. Just like, so let me be crystal clear, because I don't want folks to take away the wrong thing from that statement. I am excited for this space, and I cannot wait to develop it. It's just another situation where I've gone from like, yeah, we'll keep it relatively simple. It's got one or two complex elements to it, so we'll keep it at that, and the rest will be, you know, relatively simple. I've gone from that to just everything is complicated. Just everything is going to be complex and more of a involved process than expected. It's gonna be a good time. I'm excited. We'll get some bins down over here because we know that these people are absolute animals. Where am I? Back up to over here. We're gonna need to have like no feeding signs. We need to have all kinds of stuff. Make sure that the penguins don't get ill because of human intervention. I like the idea of it being a walkthrough enclosure for a few reasons, but they're just fun to have. You don't always get the opportunity to do them. Here. I'd rather these ones come out over here. Let's pop you down. So, and I suppose like so. Yeah, we'll have like a raised platform eating area or something over here, I guess. Okay, so that's trash cans. Do not feed signs. Need to go down as well. Wonder if I can't. That should do the trick. There's no reason it shouldn't work. Now, the one thing I realized actually, as I'm preparing the space, animals don't have an interact with human like animation set, do they? Which seems like a bit of a missed opportunity now that I think about it. I'm sure it must be really difficult to code something like that. So, you know, again, I got for something, I forget which video it was, but for one video relatively recently, I made a comment about like how I would hope that something would work in this other way, or how it would be cool if it worked in this other way. And it seemed that maybe because of the way I said it, I made a bit of an incorrect impression. And so I just want to be clear. Anytime I say something like, oh, I really wish it was like X or Y or Z, unless I would say 8 out of 10 times, unless I explicitly state it would have been really easy for them to do X, I know that the stuff that you know I say sometimes is not an easy thing to do, and I just want to be clear about that. When I say something like, yeah, it's kind of weird that they don't have like, or that it's a missed opportunity that they don't have human-animal interactions as like, you know, unique animations. Let's like, again, right, like I'm saying that fully aware that it's a difficult thing to implement. It is not a cheap thing to implement from like a production timeline and cost perspective. You gotta make a bunch of animations. It makes the DLC more expensive to produce as well, because each new animal needs to have its own like interaction with the human set. Like it is not an easy thing to execute, and I know this, and my statement is made in that hopeful way of like, this would have been cool. I understand why it isn't a thing, but it would have been cool. It doesn't need to be a thing. There are more important things that I think the devs have invested in, and they've done so correctly. All I'm saying is something would be neat. And I just want to be clear on that, because I never want to... I understand that sometimes it can sound like a laundry list of demands, and that's not what it is. It's just like it's just an off comment about something that would be cool, because I think it would be cool. And again, it's said in full appreciation of the fact that those requests are never as simple as they might sound. Now, sometimes I will straight up say like it would have been really easy to do X, Y, or Z, and that's when I believe that it would be easy to do whatever it is I'm saying. It would have been easy to do with a degree of knowledge. Well, sorry, when I say a degree of knowledge, I don't mean a degree as in like an education degree. I mean like a bit of knowledge as to some of the processes involved. Not all of them. This is not my expertise. Game dev is not like my expertise or anything, obviously. I know things about it, and there are some things that I can definitely, I would say with relative confidence, say, well, this should have been different in X, Y, or Z way. I went on a bit of a ramble there again, but I did get some comments recently from, I forget which video, but I just wanted to make sure that I don't ever give the wrong impression, of course, about where I'm coming from or where my commentary is coming from. It's important to me that, you know, obviously I'm communicating my intent and my that I'm communicating clearly just in general. It is very important to me, which is why I always say, you know, I'm open to feedback, I'm open to people's thoughts, I'm open to, yeah, just everything. I read all the comments. It's good for me to know where people maybe misunderstand me or understand me or disagree with me or agree with me. It's just it's good stuff. I'm a I'm a I'm a sucker for human interaction, I suppose. Don't know how else to put it. All right, the penguins are coming through, and they're gonna be like, "What is this place? Why does it look like the desert?" Well, it's because Party hasn't come through and actually put down the snow. Let's go ahead and... I keep forgetting. I kept thinking this as well while I was putting down those bins and stuff. But I gotta actually change the terrain over here. It really is one of those things. It's like a... Trust me, folks, this is gonna be super cool. When we eventually get around to it, it's gonna be super cool. I'm genuinely really excited for this space. And I really want to do this up like a bit of an adventure type of a thing. It's like a... Yeah, you know, put on your... I hope you're carrying your mittens and your heavy winter jacket, because it's about to get a little chilly over here. It's 0 degrees. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. That's good spring weather. It was snowing in Toronto earlier today. Fun fact. Yeah, it's you know, not that bad. 0 degrees. Go ahead and go to the water here for a second. Well, that's... No, actually, that wouldn't work. Go ahead and paint. Oh. When we come in with the rocks and stuff, we'll get more particular about where the snow is and everything. Can we not actually... Really? Yeah, I guess not. Okay, fair enough. I thought I could go a little bit lower, but I guess not. Alright, cool. We'll have to cool this section a bit as well. Oh, here they come. Pop you down over here. I want to make sure they have access to everything. I want to make sure they're able to move around. I want to make sure they're having a decent time. And I want to make sure that this space is cool as well. Warmish corner up over here. Oh, they're so fun. They're so fun to watch. Hold on. Aw, man, that was a great... Just having the 3 of them like that was a great opportunity. It's too bad they moved out of formation now. This one's getting ahead of them. Why is the snow flickering like that? I'm not sure, but... Just, I mean, come on. This is amazing. Oh, look at the colors. This is fun. Yeah, you know what? I quite like this space. Stars up above. I mean, we'll figure something out for the skylight, if you will, over here. Blending into each other. I mean, okay, good. They're definitely able to move around here. What do they actually think of the space, though? Enrichment is obviously poor. More than enough space. The entire thing is hard shelter, basically. They don't like the terrain too much. Okay. They want oh, you know what's happening is all this is being counted. Oh, that's... Okay, we have to figure that out. Need a bit more soil. Need a bit more sand. Okay, okay. Why don't we get some sand down over here? Interesting that it needs sand like that, but okay. Oh, into the water they go. Excellent. That answers that question. I was like, I can't remember. I didn't check if they're able to actually get into the water or not, but now we know. Huh. They need a lot more sand than I'd anticipated. Interesting. Well, how do I want to do this then? I prefer this area being snowy. Okay, let's just pause here so that the terraforming happens a bit faster. I like this area being snowy because of this like viewing point and stuff. So let's put some sand down maybe back over here when you first come in. Less of an immediate shock. And then it turns into snow? Okay. Really wasn't expecting them to want this much sand. Why? Okay, wow. You know, I don't remember that from when I did the DLC. That's a lot of sand. Okay, fair enough. I mean, hey, you know what we can do is we can kind of isolate this spot and make it look like it gets shoveled. Like we can put up some snow piles and stuff, make it look like it gets shoveled and cleared for the dining and all that kind of stuff. So that actually works out nicely. I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised. And why don't we go ahead and actually get some soil up over here? Because they do not like the long grass, and it's unfortunate. I never like being gamey like this, but kind of forcing my hand here, I guess, a little bit. Soil's gone up, but the long grass is still... Well, where are you getting long grass from it? Guess so, yeah. Just want to tip that down to green. Come on. Come on. There we go. Cool. But now they need more sand back down over here. Oh, did that all come down here as well? Oh, don't be like that, game. Don't do this to me. Please, let me have layers. Okay, good. We're good. Okay. Oh, that would have been bad. That would have been real bad if I couldn't separate the top from the bottom over here. But no, it looks like we're good. Okay, cool. Cool. And then the sand back over here. I think we're going to eat into some of this. There we go. Beauty. That's that done. We obviously need to bring in food and stuff. Yeah, see, this is the problem. Like, they're considering all those plants well above them. I don't want to get rid of them because they add to the atmosphere over here. And realistically, they are not realizing or reacting to those plants. Like, they can't even see them. They don't care all that much. So I think we'll have to, like, kind of headcanon that. As much as I try to avoid doing that, I think it's one of those cases where we'll have to. And we'll also have to light this space up, obviously. Very dark right now. But hey, we're able to get into the water, which is good to see as well. And if I recall correctly, they have enough deep water and diving and stuff as well. I'm really pleased that I was able to get them all the way out to here as well. So that if they want to, they can kind of get to the edge there and peer into the tortoise enclosure. That's so dark right now. It's just like pitch black without the flashlight on. We're definitely gonna need some like some lighting setup over here. Ooh, but that's a so backlit. Oh my god, that was bright. I definitely like the idea of the skylight. I wonder if if I like. I mean, I like the idea of the cave. I wonder if that's gonna stick with me or if I'm gonna change my mind on that. And again, I'm curious what you guys think about that as well. Love to hear some opinions on that. Why? Yeah, why is the snow being so weird? I'm not sure. Oh, I love this animation. Honestly, the aquatic pack might still be one of my favorites. It has some of the most fun animations. It has some of my favorite. It's a hard thing to assess, I'll be honest. Because each one has, oh, look at the red as it shines through. Each DLC obviously has like a different part that appeals to me, or you know, a bunch of things that appeal to me, or what have you. But the aquatic DLC, I liked all the parts as well, and it had a lot of these like fun animations, like the sliding animation and things like that. And I guess you don't always get the opportunity to do that with animals. But I just felt like the aquatic DLC had a lot of that. Now, the Australia DLC was also great because, like, the koalas have their custom, like, birthing animation. Same thing with the kangaroos, right? So there was a lot of that going on with some of the, with, like, the Australia DLC. The Southeast Asia DLC, in comparison, had some fun animals, for sure. Some animals that I didn't even know existed. So the Southeast Asia pack was really good. I thought they made some really good additions with that one, but I think the aquatic pack, it was such a game changer is the thing. It's like they added like the deep water, you know, functionality and stuff as well. Like a lot of stuff changed with the aquatic pack, and I think that's a part of the reason why it's probably my favorite. I think so. I think it's safe to say that it's probably my favorite DLC. I don't know what do you guys think? What was everybody else's favorite DLC? I think I can safely say aquatic is probably mine. And I'm 100% like, yeah, sure, the animals make a difference, obviously. I'm not even going to deny that. But it's not like the Southeast Asia pack doesn't have animals that I like. That animation's amazing. Man. Look at the level of detail, though. The skin texture. And just like those slight head bobs and stuff like that. Truly, just like impressive work. I love, look at that, like the peach fuzz. And how the light is interacting with that on the back, like on the nape of the neck. And just like the back in general. Just, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm calling you beautiful. That shot like really bashful there. Hide your face. I do think it's quite impressive. Look at that. It's got to be all hand animated, right? Like, it's not like a mocap suit. Yeah, can you imagine a bunch of penguins running around with mocap suits on them? Oh, a little monkey, but sliding along. Gonna go into the water. Yep. Oh, it's a little weird. There are animations for getting up and lying back down. I'm not sure why those didn't play, but there are animations for it. Rather pensive looking penguin. There you go. They're so fun. Well, folks, as that penguin swims away to make like a bird and fly away, and actually call it a session. I think that's what we're gonna call it. We made, oh dear, this is why you can't hide. Oh no. Well, that's sad. While we were busy looking at our lovely new penguins, the circle of life, of course, continues. We have lost a baby that is en route. Glad we were able to say goodbye. And over here, no, it's okay, is okay. Who else do we have over here? Shani, up over here, has passed away as well. I'll call a vet for you. And it seems as though animal welfare is attracting... Well, you know what? It's because... Well, first of all, where are you considered escaped? Probably out over here, right? Oh, you're actually able to get all the way up to the edge over here? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Should have seen that coming. I was sure we'd be like, oh, I was like, that will be fine. What are the chances they get all the way out to the edge there? Very high, apparently. Oh, I didn't realize how much this was cut off by. Can I please add... There you go. It's always so weird. Oh. Over. This is always really weird. This is like, why? You're a null placement. I should be able to put you down pretty much wherever. So I have to struggle with this for the next God knows how long. Come on. Come on. Okay, you know what? Now's not the time for it. I don't want to deal with that right now. We'll deal with it next time. Looks like we do have a couple of issues while you're out over here. That's why you're not in your ideal temperature. So there are a couple of issues over here, but they're all just as a result of oversights. Nothing too major. We'll be able to fix that very quickly without any, you know, well, apart from dealing with apart from dealing with the barrier placement thing, it's not going to be too much trouble. So yeah, this is where we're going to call it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about the space. Would you rather it be a structure? Would you rather it be a cave? Let me know down below. Again, I'm trying to figure it out myself. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I would prefer. But maybe I'll do some looking around at some images to get some ideas as well. And then we can execute that and finish it off next session. And then after that, again, everything obviously gets pushed back a little bit from the plan I mentioned at the beginning. But at least it happened now, and we're able to see that it's going to happen. But folks, that's it for today's session. I hope you had a good time. If you did, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. As always, it makes a massive difference in how I approach content on the channel, what I do more or less of, how I go about doing it. Y'all know the drill by now. Again, and as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.